Wow. So wonderful to be sung to, isn't it? It heals our hearts, definitely. So thank you to Reverend Sherry Hersey, Rick Cowling, and Tommy Reeves. Wow. Okay, everyone. Are you ready? There's some truth bombs today. They're coming your way. So, Reverend Linda Martella-Whitsett, again, the vice president of Silent Unity, and her daughter wrote this book, This Life is Yours. Discover your power, claim your wholeness, and heal your life. Who would like to do that? So I'm covering the first two chapters today, which is From Healing to Wholeness and the Value of Questioning. And they really talk about in the introduction how they wrote the book to help others claim their wholeness through looking at their current beliefs and perspectives on the subject. And the main idea really is that healing can happen anywhere. Healing can happen right where you are, right now. And that healing is really about healing your life more than healing your condition. And so the aim of the book, they say, is to become curious about your life, to question your assumptions and beliefs, and to look to wisdom within. They write, your story may be anchored in whatever you believe is missing, wrong, or broken in your life. And I would add, your story may be anchored in whatever you believe may be missing, wrong, or broken with you. Or your story may be elevated by your newfound courage, evolving understanding, and conscious choices. So let's dive in, because usually we think about healing in that sense of the medical model, right? Diagnosis, treatment, cure. My first career as a registered dietitian, and so I was really ingrained and trained in that medical model of diagnosis, treatment, cure. And they say the presumption is that wholeness is something to be achieved, while healing is something you do to achieve it. So we really need to look at their definitions of wholeness and healing. And so really wholeness is that original, absolute you. The you that is ever evolving. The you that is pure potential and infinite possibilities. We're human and we're divine, but you're not separate from the divine, but rather you're an extension of the divine. So your wholeness is independent from your circumstances. So even if you feel like you're falling apart, your wholeness can never fall apart. Even if you feel like your life is falling apart, you're sick, falling apart, your wholeness is never broken. It's never falling apart. And I know when things are going really well, that's easy to remember and affirm. And when life is challenging and we're going through our physical challenges or life challenges, that can be a little bit harder to grasp onto. But ultimately, your wholeness is that soul, eternal, spiritual you. Wholeness is another word for that soul part of you. So you are already whole. Just sit in that for a moment. You're already whole. You don't even have to do anything. Just right here, right where you are, you're already whole. And then healing. So again, to heal is to restore, to resolve, to realize, but essentially healing is simply a return to health. But again, they're saying the meaning of health is usually defined as freedom from illness or freedom from injury. But what they're saying is that healing is actually realizing your wholeness. That healing is really when we choose well-being in every aspect of our life. And this includes body, mind, and spirit. So when we talk about our health, I'll be talking mostly focusing on physical health, but really it's the health in every area of your life. Your financial health, your relationship health, your emotional health, your spiritual health. So healing is actually realizing wholeness and choosing well-being in every aspect of your life. So some of you know my own health story, but for those of you who are new, and to just remind everyone, because it's been a while, end of 2015, December of 2015, I one weekend started to have flu-like symptoms. I remember taking a shower and it was so painful, the water hitting me, and I thought, oh, this feels like how I've heard people describe shingles, but I didn't have a rash or anything. And then I started having twitches under the eyes and twitching in my mouth and side of my cheek. And then by the end of December of 2015, I had a really hard time smiling on my right side of my face. So January 3rd, 2016, I get into my doctor and she says, it seems like you might have shingles. Sometimes, most times, actually 60% of the time, folks don't have rashes with shingles. Well, a week later, I suddenly was experiencing burning pain from the back of my head. The top of my head felt like it was on fire. Whole side of my face, nerve pain, down the whole right side of my body, and from my knees down to my feet, nerve pain. And my knees to my feet felt like, you know, when your foot's falling asleep? Ugh, right? Well, I had that from my knees down to my toes. That feeling that's tingling and sensitive, and you feel like you can't really walk, right, or stand. So when I went back to my doctor, she said, well, this doesn't seem like shingles anymore because you didn't have the rash, now it's on the other side of your body as well. And that started a 14-month medical journey. Medical nightmare is what it felt like at times. Because now I was in this whole broken system, right? I'm broken, I'm scared, no one knows the answer. I'm going to UCLA, I'm going to USC. I was out to the Mayo Clinic in Phoenix. And it was actually right here in Thousand Oaks, two fantastic infectious disease doctor, Dr. Dutta. He said, I think this is shingles or something in that family. And eventually got to 2017 where we were adjusting medications and I had another big flare-up and got to a fantastic neurologist, one of these like Dr. House, if anyone used to watch that. Yeah, like think outside the box. He came and saw me for 2 hours, Dr. Tremo, on a Saturday, and said, you've got shingles. So it turned out that while most of us get chickenpox as kids, and that virus calms down in our nervous system, and then maybe sometime when you're really stressed as an adult, it comes out as shingles. Well, my system just had shingles on overload. It was not settling back down. And so all the time from my knees down, I would have this tingling and sensitivity. And then about every 6 weeks, I would kind of notice this. It would start all over again, head all the way down to my right side. My legs were worse. And eventually, I got stabilized with medication and some other spiritual tools that I'll talk about in a minute. But eventually what I realized, especially over the last year when I keep seeing they take my blood every quarter, every 4 months, and my numbers are still high, right? And yet, I didn't have a word for it quite yet. I didn't put it all together quite yet until this book last week, but I realized, but what I was feeling was I was whole. I wasn't feeling sick anymore. Because I can exercise and I can get out in the world, I can do my work. I can be happy. I can be living my life. And so finally I realized, you know what? My numbers just might be high. They might just always be high. I just got to let it go. That those shingle numbers will ever be normal. I surrendered. I surrendered to struggling against this condition. I surrendered to, I have to have the perfect scores. Sure, I'd like to reduce my medication, but also I'm so grateful for that medication because they allow me to work out and hike and travel to stand here without pain. And so I feel healed, really, really whole and healed. I learned that my healing may not be what the numbers on a lab sheet say. My healing is not reflected on the numbers. So what's so funny too, of course, right? Because over the last year, 18 months, 2 years, I just let go of that. Now, the last 2 times I've had my blood work done, just last couple weeks ago, and in January, they're almost normal. They're the lowest they've been since 2016. Now, this is funny because shingles, again, gets flared up when you're under stress. Think about what I was doing, everyone. I was moving a church. We were building out a church during the holidays. I thought for sure, especially those January numbers, were going to be sky high, but they were lower. I let go of the idea that those numbers had anything to do with my health, with my wholeness. Healing had already happened. My doctors may not say I'm cured, but boy, are they happy to see me because they're always like, you are so strong, you're our success case. Keep doing what you're doing. Okay. So my numbers don't dictate whether I'm healed or not. Your numbers don't dictate whether you're healed or not. In the book it says, as you hold on to the idea of well-being and affirm the principle of health, it dawns in your mind. You begin to cooperate with the principles of health. See, the less I held on to that idea of being sick, the less I experienced or felt sick. Because where your thoughts go, your life flows. Also in 2019, so again, beginning of 2019, I was feeling stabilized, I was feeling good. Okay, I'm going to start working out again, right? I'm out walking my dog February 2019, and I trip and fall. And I hurt my back. And I still to this day have kind of this low-grade chronic back pain. But I went a year later, January 2020, the end of January 2020, I went to the UK before the world shut down with my older son, Julian. He had some time off college at the time, and my best friend, Milena, some of you know. And we were, walking around, and there was one day, Milena and I went and looked at castles, and I noticed on my watch I had done about 54 flights of stairs. I had walked over 20,000 steps. There was another day in London, we had done like 36,000 steps. But the next day, my pain level was the same. In other words, all those steps and walking didn't make it more painful for me. So I thought, well, I might as well exercise and keep doing the steps and the walking. Because if the pain level is the same as 2 steps as to 200 steps, I might as well do the 200 steps. Again, I stopped struggling against the condition. In that moment, I said, it just is. Instead of saying, no, my back pain has to be at 0%. It has to be perfect. No more back pain ever. But instead, what I said was, it just is. I'm not going to pay any attention there. I'm going to keep living my life. I'm going to keep living my life. This condition has no power over me. Stop giving it power over you. It says in the book, you decide whether well-being is possible for you, even as you must attend to physical symptoms and conditions. You decide whether health is less about a perfect body or about 0% pain, and more about your overall well-being or wholeness. You decide. Again, where we place our thoughts with intense emotions. So every moment of attention that you give to your pain, or not to your pain, transforms you vibrationally, as well as biochemically. And of course, it's not a one and done. You just don't do it one time. Myrtle Fillmore, our co-founder in Unity, it took her 2 years to heal herself. 2 years and countless hours every day in meditation, forgiveness work, healing work, to heal herself. And I've talked about that before, that ski slope, right? So when we want to make new connections in our brains have this neuroplasticity. They are able to change. Dr. Sarah's nodding. Yes. See? I don't come up here and lie. I'm telling you the latest science because I'm super into this. Because science and the spirituality. I mean, the Fillmores were ahead of their time, everybody. So you can make new connections. You can have a new thought, but it's going to take some time to get a new ski path in the fresh snow. So it takes repetition. And again, it doesn't matter if we're talking about financial health, relationship health, emotional health, but it has to be a repetition of the truth. Charles Fillmore, our co-founder, said, "We want instantaneous healing of our diseases, but we are loath to sacrifice the mental habits that cause them." Now, I don't want you to hear that you caused it. We're going to put a pin in that. I'm going to come back to that in just a moment. But what he's saying is your thoughts are powerful, and your body hears it. So Dr. Joel Osteen from the big traditional church in Houston, he has a great quote I heard once, because he said, "From my mouth to my ears." And I often say, from our thoughts to our ears. Your body hears everything that you're saying to it, and vibrationally will pick up on that. Science now knows that your nervous system will get turned way up if you keep focusing on the negative and what's going on wrong. If you keep focusing on the pain, because it's in fright mode, flight or fright, right? So if you're in fright mode, you're going to turn up that nervous system. It doesn't have a chance to heal. That was me for a couple years, in fright mode. No wonder I couldn't heal. So when you calm the nervous system, you heal your body. So to understand healing is to understand also that life is not static. Life keeps lifing, right? I had one thing, okay, a couple years, got that under control, and now I fall, right? Life keeps happening. So when we place our healing on a timeline, we actually push it at bay. When we say it has to be by this day and time, we're just, again, turning up our nervous system, putting even more pressure on ourselves. And in those moments, we're forgetting. Here's a great quote. "To heal is not to achieve a final state of being after which you live happily ever after. Healing, like wholeness, is ever evolving." Healing, like wholeness, is ever evolving. So that's where we turn to compassion. We turn to compassion to say every moment can be a new beginning. I mentioned my mug before, right? I brought it for a reminder for you all today. New beginnings. So when I go into my cupboards in the morning and I see my 3 shelves of mugs, I actually pause for a moment and I say, okay, what am I resonating with today? Yesterday I was really thinking about our 2 sons, and one's attending Chapman University, the one just graduated, so I grabbed my Chapman mug. But so often lately, especially, I keep resonating with the new beginning. Today is a new beginning. This moment is a new beginning. This sip of coffee is a new beginning. Each moment, a chance to start again. So in the new beginnings, we can choose to turn to a spiritual tool that nurtures our wholeness. So one is compassion. I had to have a lot of compassion with myself, with my situations, with all the feelings around it. I must not be a good Unity student. Poor me. Why did this happen? Right? I got to lean into all of that. Because to not lean into it and experience the feelings means you're pushing them down. And what's that going to do to your nervous system, everyone? You're going to rile it up. You can't heal. So compassion with self and the situation. Gratitude, and I've talked about this extensively. Gratitude saved me. That gratitude list saved me. actively looking for the beauty and the grace and what was still possible. Love saved me. Focusing on my family. So what do I want? What do I want to lean into? Even in the darkest moments, what do I want to lean into? I want to lean into love, connection. That was another spiritual tool. Connection. How do I connect with my family, with friends, people who will listen and support? Support. That was another spiritual tool self-care tool I had to start using. Asking for help. A lot of times we don't want to ask for help. We feel like, oh, I'm a burden. We're here to be connected with one another. And in that connection, we can help each other. People want to help you. People want to be the extension of God for you. They want to be the hands of God for you. So yes, asking for help is a spiritual practice. And then, of course, meditation and acupuncture I kind of threw in there as well, because meditation and acupuncture, again, calms your nervous system, allows your body to heal instead of being on alert. But also then I can quiet my mind and I can affirm my wholeness. In those times of quiet meditation, I can listen intuitively to that wisdom within me. So meditation. Saying no was a new spiritual practice. Because you can't do your work, you can't help other people without taking care of yourself first. It's like they say on the airplane, put the mask on the child first. No. I was just making sure you're all awake. Put the mask on you first, right? Right. Because what happens if you put the mask on the child first? You can't be there to help the child, right? So you have to put the mask on you first. And that means asking for help. That means saying no and having healthy boundaries. And then nature. As much as I was able to walk in nature, we've talked about nature before. We just had Earth Day yesterday. So sometimes walking, depending on where I was in my healing timeline, it was 5 minutes. Sometimes it was 45 minutes. Sometimes it was looking out the window from my bedroom and enjoying the blue sky and the sound of the birds. And lastly, one of the spiritual tools I used was forgiveness. Forgiveness for myself. Forgiveness for not expressing my needs. Forgiveness for being the martyr. No, this will not get the best of me. I'm going to keep on working. Forgiveness for overworking, for overmomming. For not listening to my intuition about a lumbar puncture that made it so I couldn't even sit down without being in pain for more than 5 minutes. Part of healing is to make peace with your past. Yeah, part of healing is to make peace with your past. Forgiveness work is not saying that the harmful behavior is okay, but it frees us to move forward with love and compassion for our own selves. Because wholeness, again, it's about our overall well-being. So in the book, they talk a lot about how we can get stuck in the why. Why is this happening to me? But ultimately, that's not what's important. And I would actually say the why gets you stuck. It just keeps you going around in circles. There's lots of different, they talk about 4 in particular reasons that we usually answer the why. You know, it's usually an old religious ideology or just our broken, you need to be fixed system that we kind of live in. But asking why is not the important part. The important part is to lean into what am I longing for? Because love is our core. Therefore, what you are really wanting is harmony with all of life. It comes down to love. Love of others, love of your health, love of strength, love of learning, love of beauty. So hear this, because you are love, you're going to notice what's not love. So you did not ask or cause your illness. You recognize it because it's contrasted to your true being, which is love. When we teach in unity that you are a creator of your own experience, We are not, underline, not teaching that you instigated unwanted circumstances. We do not create heartbreak or devastating events. We do not gravitate toward or manifest these things to learn a lesson. We do not manifest these things to grow through them. We do not. It says it here, I'm saying it here. That is metaphysical malpractice. If God is the energy of pure love is not trying to test you. Pure love is not trying to harm you. That is not the truth. To experience a condition is not the same as to cause it. Amen? To experience a condition is not the same as to cause it. These ideas just lock you into a shame and blame, self-blame cycle. They do not help your healing. Your inner being, your very nature, is love and nothing other, because you're an extension of love and nothing other. So your responsibility during challenging times is your response. How do I respond when life's all over me? So when that happens, I invite you to lean into love, lean into harmony, lean into your connectedness, your interconnectedness with all. I love this. They write in the book about leaning into your longings, and they say, lean into what it is you're longing as you get curious about what needs healing in your life. What is my longing? Is it health? Is it peace of mind? Is it satisfying relationships? Because then you can create a wellness plan for yourself based on what it is that you're desiring. And John O'Donohue is quoted as saying, accept our longings as divine urgency. I love that. Our longings are our divine urgency. So lean into, get curious, what's behind what's going on? What am I longing for? Because the longing is my divine urgency. So instead of like, I will do this, which is sort of like I should do this, shifting to I am willing. I am willing. Ironically, that was my white stone for this year. Now, of course, I knew exactly what my white stone was going to be this year, just like I know many of you, right? So when we do our white stone ceremony, and I take you into meditation, and then there's a word, a spiritual word or attribute that is yours to hold on to and to express for the year. And I thought mine's going to be peace. Peace. And then I took us all into the meditation. Little did you all know what was going on up here. But the word that came was willing. And I thought, oh, no, that's not my word. My word is peace. Willing. Well, I don't want to be willing to be willing. I got to be willing to be willing. Yes. Willing to be peace. Willing to be love. Willing to be present. Willing to be listening. Willing to be an open heart. Willing to be strength. Willing to be whole. I am willing. So that deep desire is really us having a longing to know our divine identity. Our healing to remember our wholeness starts with every moment a new beginning. Each new moment builds momentum, and each new beginning causes you to evolve. See, if we hold on to the same thoughts, the same prayers, the same ideas, the same beliefs, the same habits, then we stay the same. Evolving means choosing a new beginning and then building on from it. So, the Whitsets ask us, will you consider yourself a not yet healed person or a well person? So I wanted to end with this affirmation for evolution that they have here. I begin this day in a spirit of beginningness, breathing fresh breath and thinking new thoughts. My life is continually unfolding. Today, if an issue arises that I thought I had already healed, I recognize that I meet the issue from a fresh perspective, that I am wiser and more mature than when I last encountered this challenge. I begin again. I level up. I evolve. I'm going to say that last part again for us. I begin again. I level up. I evolve. You want to say that with me? I begin again. I level up. I evolve. It feels good, right? Let's say it one more time. I begin again. I level up. I evolve. That's right. Wholeness is your natural state, which you can access by connecting with that divine presence within you. That is who and what you are. So love itself. I bless you on your healing journey. Blessings, everyone.